Hey, what's up, everybody? Welcome back to the Tony Gomez Show. I want to introduce everybody to my interview for today. This is Jimmy Smithwick from the Relly Rotnz and also from our band that we joined together, that we had together, the Harbor City All Stars. How's it going, Jimmy?
It's going great. How are you today?
Oh, man, doing pretty good, doing pretty good.
That's great.
Still limping from a little leg injury that I had a couple weeks ago, but hey, I'm chilling, and it's a beautiful day outside, and who knows,
Awesome.
after we get out of this interview, maybe I can just muster up the energy to go cut the grass. It's been a long 2 weeks of injury, and I kind of want to get back to my norm. You know what I mean?
Yeah, same here. I need to cut my front yard bad.
Yeah, man. I haven't had a chance to really do much with this torn handspring that I did on a race on New Year's Eve. But
hmm
the things we do for love, that was my anniversary, and I wanted to do it out there with my wife, and so be it. It
Oh,
makes me
happy
think of
anniversary.
thank you, brother. It makes me think of a saying that a friend of mine told me that I used to work with Roger Cadron over at the Landry Seafood house over there on the T Head, and he told me, "You know what, Tony? No good deed goes unpunished." And I was like, "Damn, man, it sucks because I like to do right and do good shit, but it seems like what? Sometimes you end up getting the short end of the stick sometimes, and but when it comes to that, hey, I don't want to change who I am, and if that's the way the ball rolls, then so be it. It's all good."
Yeah. Oh, killer,
Well,
killer.
me and you, Jimmy, we've had the pleasure of jamming together in the Harbor City All Stars since like 2019 already. And
hmm
before that, whenever I'd see you, you always bring on a very energetic set of music whenever I see you jam. And I love your
Thank
hard
you.
rocking style, bro. And
Thank
so,
you.
what got you turned on to rock and roll?
Oh man, well, believe it or not, what turned me on to music was my uncle uh was in a Tejano band. I grew up around Tejano. He was in a band called Los Fabulosos Cuatro out of Alice, Texas. And so I was
Okay.
around music growing up. We'd always help him, go to the dances, help him load up. And he he was the drummer for like Laura Canales and Alberto Gallegos and Carlos Guzman, like all the Tejano legends, right? So
Yeah,
that
I'm familiar with
injected
all those
music.
names.
Yeah, seeing all the lights and seeing everybody play since I was a kid, I was very turned on to that. And he
Yeah.
was a great family man too. He passed away over 20 years ago, but I always admired that style. I guess that's why I never moved away to California or Austin, because I wanted to rock and I wanted to be close to my family. Blessing and a
Yeah.
curse, I guess, because I still have big dreams in my head. But and then my stepfather, he came around and actually had a guitar, gave me a guitar when I was about 9 years old, and slipped the needle in the groove to records, and that was it.
That was it. Yeah. Well, speaking of records, dude, what was maybe a couple of those? What were the artists? You remember some of those first vinyls you jammed to?
I do. I still have them framed in my dining room downstairs. It was actually
Killer.
well, it was a lot of the Beatles. I don't have any of the Beatles, but it was Chuck Berry's greatest hits. It
Yeah.
was the Ramones' Rock and Roll High School. Nevermind the Bollocks from Sex Pistols. The
Yeah.
Doors and the best of Black Sabbath.
Wow. Man, I
So
love
that was
all of
what I
those acts.
listened.
Talk about
That's what I
forming you
listened
right
to.
there.
Yeah,
Yeah, those are
listened
all
to on
just
heavy
legendary.
rotation. Yeah,
Yes,
heavy
big
rotation.
time. Godly. I love all of those artists, and I could see how they could uh keep you fired up and want you getting you into rock and did you say Zepp in the mix in there,
No, no
or we
Zepp.
weren't?
I didn't listen to. No, I didn't listen to Zepp when I was young. I listened to a lot of ELO, a lot of
Jeff Lynne?
Quicksilver Messenger service. He was a huge Iron Butterfly fan as well. So
Yeah, killer. All right. Well, who influenced you to
yeah.
get on the guitar?
Well, he did. He influenced me to
Yeah.
play the guitar, and then man, around that time, everybody, and I'm from Kingsville. I grew up in Kingsville, Texas, and man, it just seemed like everybody started buying a guitar from J.C. Penney or from the local guitar shop, the Music Man or Getch Music. And then,
Yeah.
you go to school and everybody's like, I got a guitar. I got one too. And
Yeah.
well, let's start a band. 7 guitar
Right.
players. Let's do it.
Yes, right. But speaking of, do you play any other instruments besides the six stringer?
Yes, I play the bass. I That's what I really started out on when I started getting into bands. They're like, "Yeah, you play bass," and I was like, "All right, I'll be Gene Simmons." That's how everybody started out, is
Yeah.
being a Kiss member.
Yes.
But as far as professionally, the only time I play bass is with Anchor Babies when they need me to fill in.
Killer. Yeah, love Henry Flores and the Anchor Babies, man. Hell yeah. Mike
Oh
Leal
yeah,
in there. Yes. Oh man.
and
Great times, man. Right there. Well, you know what? I was thinking, I was jamming to your jams on your Spotify channel, and I came across a song on the Rock and Roll Royalty release that you put out, I think 2013, and it's a song
hmm
called Devil's Son. And I was curious
hmm
who jams the piano at the beginning of that one.
that's Saul Padron.
No shit.
Yeah,
Wow.
so what happened was we were at Sound Machine Studio recording that, and Saul's a very good piano player, and he just started playing something, and the piano is out of tune. It's really out of tune. And
Wow.
Mason had just put it in there because he was going to get it worked on. Anyway, we're messing around, and I was like, "That sounds creepy as hell. Let's record the chords to Devil's Son in front, so it's all like
Yeah.
broken, and so it was just one of those things."
Very cool. I like the story behind that. That's awesome, man. Hell yeah. So, what was the first concert you went to, brother? You being from Kingsville, did you have to come to Corpus?
I had to come to Corpus, and back days was that was a different time. I would come stay with an aunt here or an uncle, and
Yeah.
they would just drop you off at the Coliseum like at 2 o'clock, right?
Yeah,
And
that's right. We
with
stand
like
in line.
15, yeah, with $15. I have to say the lines were almost funner than the concerts back then.
Wasn't it
Meeting the
right?
people. Yeah, dude,
Yeah.
meeting the people and watching people on the Bayfront. I mean, Corpus was so different back then. But my first concert, um, I got to look at the dates. It's been a long time, but it's either the Jets and Stacy Q with two of my girl cousins. I came to visit, and they're like, "Hey, we're going to a concert," or it was Bon Jovi and Cinderella. It's right
Okay,
around
one
that
of those
time.
two.
It was,
Wow, man, killer. The Jets, I remember them. Yes, I remember them. Yeah.
yeah.
Well, back, those are the days of Z95 out here. Of course, C101 has been here forever as well. And
And Kite 105 was popular too. That was
yeah, Kite, I remember that. No
yeah.
shit. That's right.
They put a lot of concerts on too.
Yeah. Well, also, besides the Memorial Coliseum, rocking back then, at the start of the music scene around here, well, as concert scene, as far as I remember, was also the Ritz. Remember the Ritz?
Oh right, yes. I never saw a concert at the Ritz.
Why is that? Just
I don't know. I guess I
shit.
moved to Corpus too soon, or didn't really.
Yeah.
Nobody in Kingsville knew about it. Everything was just the Coliseum or
Yeah.
the Stardust
Yeah. Yeah. That's right. Okay.
or the Yellow Rose.
Yeah. Damn, man. I'm starting to feel old here, Jimmy. Son of a gun. Yeah, because I'm shit. When I think of the Ritz, I think of the Wasp and Metallica show. That was Ride the Lightning and Wasp first one, and then I seen here's one I had to ask you about because I saw you post a flyer, dude, and I had to double check the location, and it's in the Sunken Gardens, and you said, man, I remember. I think you and some other bros drove up to go see Anthrax Metal Church at DRI. Right?
Yes,
Dude, that was
yes.
an awesome. I get to see it here. Why'd you have to? Oh, well, you being from Kingsville, you made the trip to SA.
Well, yeah. What happened was my buddy. um, Jeff Elizondo, whose brother's a dentist now, and we talk about stuff all the time. He was going to dental school, and Jeff said, "Hey,
All right.
I'm going down to stay with my brother. You want to go hang for the week?" I guess we were up there about 5 days. So when we
Yeah.
were up there, his brother said, "Hey, there's a concert going on, Anthrax Metal Church in DRI." And he wasn't that much older. He's kind of the one who turned us on to a lot of rock and roll back when we were younger. But um,
Yeah.
uh, and he lived at some apartments, and he says, and they're having a signing at a record store right by my apartments. And we're
Yes.
like, hell yeah. So two
Record
days
bar.
later we got up. Yeah, we got up and walked around the corner, and we got to meet Anthrax and Metal Church, and then go to the concert later that night. It was killer.
That was
Joey
killer, dude.
Belladonna Joey Belladonna got on the rafters with his his head dressing on. It
Yeah,
was
that's right. The headdress from
badass.
Indians. Yes, dude. Oh, dude.
That's
That
right.
was one of my favorite. That's in my top 10 right there of all time favorite shows was catching that bill. And that lineup was just legendary right then. That's when a
Yeah.
lot was happening in the music scene, and DRI was doing the crossover thing from doing uh their punk style, fast skate punk style aggressiveness that they're blending more into a metal band with the
Hmm.
crossover release. And then Metal Church was coming out with their second release. Anthrax is coming on strong with Among the Living. It was like
Mm.
concert of the year, concert of the year. So when I saw that, I
Yeah.
was like, oh, dude, I gotta definitely bring that up because that's one for the that's
Yeah.
a legendary show, big time.
Yeah. Among the Living is probably one of those albums that I don't listen to a lot, but if it came on, I could probably sing every word. It's one that you
Yeah,
listen from, every
from
song. You
front
didn't
to last.
skip
Yeah.
nothing. Yeah. Yeah.
Yes, dude. Yeah, that's definitely one of those jams right there. Well, what was the last concert you had a chance to see? Anything recently?
Oh man. I don't remember.
Been a
I
little
don't
bit.
remember. It's been a little bit. Yeah.
Well, I'll tell you
Yeah.
what. What would be your dream concert?
Oh man, that's funny. I think I've seen a lot of my dream concerts. I've seen
Kick
Social
ass.
Distortion. I've
Yeah.
seen Cheap Trick. I got to see
Yes.
Cheap Trick here in the front. Um, I've seen Rancid. I don't know how many times. So I think I've seen Dangerous Toys, which is like my all-time favorite band. I've seen, I don't know, 12 times or so.
Yeah. Dangerous Tour. I'm glad you
Uh,
mentioned them. Have you had a chance to play with those guys before? Have you shared the
you
stage?
know, here's the funny part. Me and Jason are very good friends, and
Awesome.
I've played with Godzilla Motor Company. I've played with Broken Teeth, but never with Dangerous Toys. And the funny thing is,
Okay.
the first time I met Jason, um, we met in 1990, and my buddy Victor Smith, who I was starting Dead Man's Hand with, said, "Hey, I know Jason. We went to high school." And I was like, "Dude, that dude's my idol." And he goes, "Yeah, let me call his dad and get his number." So he called his dad, got his number, and said, "Hey, my buddy wants to meet you. We jam in a band." And they had just gotten off, I guess, the first leg of their big tour because they got signed in '89, I guess. So it was
Yeah.
the end of the tour. And so, man, it was either pay my electricity bill or pay for gas to go meet Jason McMaster. I lived
Yeah.
at Beach Tree Apartments over there on Weber, and so we
Yeah.
jumped in my Toyota van and we cruised up to Austin a couple of days after and went to his apartment, and I was starstruck. That was really the first time I was starstruck. And he's
Wow.
like, "Yeah, these are the pants from the Scared video, and this is the cowboy hat. This and
Awesome.
this is." No, man, I was just like, and he was the coolest dude ever. So I think I posted recently some
Oh, that
stuff that
kicks
he had
ass.
given me that day, and you know how they say never meet your idols. Well, he's the exception to the rule.
Yeah. Oh, that is
But
super cool. What a great story. Yeah, and I love to hear that, man, because, it disappoints me when I hear about when you meet your idols in the it's a dream crusher. They're an asshole,
yeah,
or they give you the shaft, or they don't want to, they don't have the time of day for you. And hey, we all know that, these guys are busy, but when you get that moment, man, I tell you, me as a fan, it sticks with you forever. It really
yeah,
does. And
yeah.
and it makes
I,
you a
I've
fan for life.
yeah. The only person that's ever been to where I was pretty disappointed was Sebastian Bach. We got to play with Sebastian
Really?
Bach. Yeah,
Yeah.
and man, he was. Everybody said not to approach him. That's the first
Okay.
rule. Don't approach him. Okay, I can respect that. So I was backstage with a band called Santa Cruz, and uh, they were smoking a joint and drinking some Jack Daniels, and we were talking, and they
Yeah.
were killer. I don't know if you've heard them, but they're killer. And well, in the middle of the set, Sebastian Bach comes out, I guess, to get some fresh air because I'd seen enough, I guess. And he
Uh-huh.
came out and he was right there, and I reached out my hand, and he was just like not having it, and he's
Damn.
like, "Give me some of that joint." So Saul passes him some of the joint, and then
Yeah.
he just didn't want to talk to anybody. I know he was in
Yeah.
his thing, but
I, I get it. Yeah,
yeah.
man. Golly. Um, was that happen to be the last time he was in town, or even further
Yeah,
back?
it was no, it was the last time he was in town.
Okay.
Yeah.
I remember that over there at the House of Rock. Yeah.
Yeah, it was a
Okay.
lot of years ago.
Yeah, I know what you mean. That's right. Damn, man. Shoot, it almost feels like yesterday, right? Well,
It
let me
does.
ask you. Me and you've been in the scene here for decades, and it's I'm proud to say that we have. What was your first
Hmm.
band?
So
What got you started?
I joined a band called Drudger at the time, which was David Hawkins, Victor Smith, Joey Perez, not the bass player Joey Perez, the drummer Joey Perez, and
Okay,
Henry Flores. Uh, I met
Drudger.
Victor Smith at yeah, I met Victor Smith at Walden Books looking for vocal exercise books, and he's like, "Oh, you sing?" And I said, I want to." And he's like, "Well, come over and learn these 5 songs and come jam with us." And we jammed on Eleanor Street off of Agnes at some bus garages where they fix buses. They were
Yeah,
renting one for $100 a month. It was huge, and so I
badass.
was I was just fresh from Kingsville, right? I was like, "Fucking hey, dude! I found a band, you
Perfect.
know." So
Yeah.
the 5 songs were "Falling in Love" by Scorpions, "Green Manalishi,"
Wow.
Priest, "Wasted" from Def Leppard.
Hell yeah.
Um, actually, one was "Teasin' Pleasin'" from Dangerous Toys,
Great.
and I can't remember the fifth one. I think it was another Priest one.
All
And
right.
I went in my closet with my little PA system, put on headphones, and I tried to mimic everything, and showed up and got the job, as they say. And
Yeah.
so we did a couple of
Kick ass.
practice room parties, and then everything was cool. People didn't want. I really wanted to start getting into playing a lot and do the rock and roll stuff. And
Yeah, get active.
some people chose drugs and just I guess didn't have a lot of self confidence or something. And that's when I switched to Dead Man's Hand. Well, let me come back a little bit. I met a person named Reynolds Champion. Do you know Reynolds Champion?
I've only heard the name, and I've only heard great things about him as a vocalist. And yes, and what was the band he was
Yeah,
with?
Accelerate, King Beowulf,
Accelerate. King
Purple
Beowulf.
Mushroom.
Yeah,
Yeah,
Mushroom as well with the Cadrons. All right.
yeah,
Okay, keep
yeah.
going. Yeah, man, I like this.
So we played a show, and he saw us play, and he says, "I want y'all to get better." And
Yeah.
he was very flamboyant. He was like a Mexican David Lee Roth. So, excuse me,
Yeah.
this dude was like in sequence tights with a hairy chest, and he was a very odd looking character, but he exhumed rock and roll, especially to me because I
Yes.
was meeting somebody who didn't give a shit for the first time except for entertaining people, right?
Yes.
And he
Yeah.
would bring out these half naked chicks would bring out a big boa constrictor and put it over him, and he'd be singing
Oh
Queen's
yeah.
Reich. Yeah, I mean,
Yeah.
and he could sing. He was the first guy that I knew that could scream. Well, second guy, there was a guy in Kingsville, but this guy had it all, right?
Damn.
And I just looked up to him, and he would always say, "Well,
Yeah.
I'll put you on this show, but I need more from you," And I was go tell the guys we need to do more, and some would say okay, and some were like, "Are you sure? Are you sure?" So I was like, you know what? I'm going to change the name of the band. I'm going to change the image of the band and try and be more like Dangerous Toys. That was the model
Yeah.
back then for me. And
Cool.
write songs about partying and strippers, and you know, I was
It's rock.
17.
All right.
Yeah, so I was about 17. Um, So yeah, we just went full Guns N' Roses sleaze, everything sleazy. We
Yeah.
were ingesting it.
That's cool. And you were still
So
just
that
doing
was
vocals, right?
I was just doing vocals. Yeah. Yeah.
Oh, hell yeah. And how long did that last? And well, tell me, I know Henry Flores was in there. He was in there,
Right, right.
and who else were the members of Dead Man's Hand?
Um well, there was a few over the years, but when we really got serious, it was still Dave Hawkins for a while on bass. Then we got
Great.
Ronnie Gibbs on drums, and Darwin Lambeth on guitar. They were from the Bluff, Ronnie and Darwin.
All right.
Darwin also played with Accelerate um, with
With Reynolds.
Reynolds. So
Okay.
Reynolds gave him his blessing. It's so funny. I got
All
to say
right.
this: like when I was looking for a guitar player, Reynolds was like the Facebook of Corpus. So you'd go to his house. He lived at I think they're called Gaslight Apartments on Castoris,
Yeah.
and so you'd go to his house, you'd knock on the door, and there was always something freaky going on. But you'd say, "Hey, Reynolds, we're looking for a guitar player," and he'd say, "Come in." And he had this black book, and he'd open it up, and he'd go,
Yeah.
"Nah, nah. Oh, this guy is good. Call him. Tell him I said." So he'd give you the numbers on the back
Wow.
of his business card, which he uh, he ran male and female strippers, right? So that was
Okay.
his job.
Yeah.
Yes, dude, I'm
That's
telling you, Corpus was a different time back then.
right.
So,
Yeah.
so anyway, you'd call the guy and you'd say, "Hey, Reynolds gave me your number," and he'd say, "Oh, okay, well, yeah, let's jam." So,
Yeah.
um, yeah, we did a lot of cool shit. We did a lot of cool shit back then.
Damn, man. Dead Man's Hand. I remember that name. I know you guys played Zeros many times, right?
Yeah. Hmm.
Yeah,
Hmm.
man. And we were
Many
just on
times.
different. We were just on two different lanes. When I was at that time, I was doing like maybe I want to
Integrity.
say Syntegrity. Yeah, so we're playing
Yeah.
that heavy death metal stuff. But I was always good friends with Henry, and I remember meeting Henry standing in line to for a concert. You know what I mean? And that, like you said,
Right.
that was almost just as fun as the being at the concert because you get there and spend like 6 or 8 hours and you meet everybody that's there for the same reason. And before you know
Yeah.
it, you're like, oh yeah, man, this song, and oh, I love this, and hey, I've met this guy before, and then you start going down this rabbit hole of all these other bands that everybody starts turning you on to, and yeah, man, I just always great memories of Henry, and he's such a grinder
Yeah.
like us, you know what I mean? He just and I love his style of rock, and
Hmm.
I know why Benjamin Salinas kind of runs in that same circle because he's another rocker, man, that just he throws it
Oh
down in that
yeah.
same vein, man. and
Yeah,
I
I
love
love
that.
Ben.
I
Yeah,
you know, like I love that sleaze rock. I loved what Dangerous
yeah,
Toys was doing. I was a big time '80s kid, you know, listening to Rad and Twisted Sister and Wasp and everything that was out there at the time. Man, I wanted to hear everything. Some bands were my favorite, and
yeah.
some bands I didn't hear quite so much. But uh, Dangerous
You
Toys was
know,
one of those sharp bands that was one of my favorites.
right. You know, one other person that I really looked up to and became fast friends with because him and Henry Flores were friends that really did everything well. So there was, you know, Jace after Reynolds kind of passed away, was
Rest in
Alex
peace, Reynolds.
Dominguez. Yeah.
Alex, yes, our brother Alex,
Alex
yeah.
had it. He had it going on. That guy. I mean, just well, anybody. I only knew him very well, but like you know, being making records, making
Right.
tapes, being on Wild Metal Blades or Wild Rag Records. You know,
Yeah, man.
that was just something that I admired. And then one of the guys that played in y'all's scene, like the heavy scene, came and played with Dead Man's Hand for a while. David Serra.
David
Uh,
Sedna.
do
Okay.
you,
I know that
he had a
name. I'm trying to think of who he played with
yeah.
around at that
He
same
played with
time.
Annihilator. He played with
Oh
Annihilator for a little
shit.
bit.
Okay.
Yeah, but
Yeah,
I
all
think
right.
he changed his last name to something else. But
Okay.
anyway, so that was a cool time. That was in the later
Yeah.
years. So going back to the first question, the final Dead Man's Hand, when it was really full force in the right before it broke up, before grunge hit the scene, was
Oh, okay.
Possum, Steve Garcia.
Yeah, Possum.
Uh,
Shout out to Possum.
yeah, we had two drummers, Mark Reese and TK Crawford. They were right in that little era.
Yeah.
Of course,
Shout out
Henry
TK.
Flores still,
Yeah.
and James Griffiths on bass from Aransas Pass. So that's
All
how it
right.
ended there.
Damn, man. And TK as well. You know, I love TK. I just saw him just the other day, and another fellow grinder playing drum still with Donald Ledesma and the guys in COD. You know, shout out to those guys.
Yeah.
But what a blessing that we're still out here grinding, man. I tell you, I'm grateful at this point in my life. I'm just very grateful, you know, of what we've been able to enjoy and the bright future that I still know is ahead for us. It's
Hmm.
still so exciting. So
Yeah.
from
I
Dead
love
Man's
it.
Hand, what came after that? How do we get to the beginning of the Really Rottens?
So after Dead Man's Hand, um, I kind of got sick of Corpus because there was just I was never into drugs. Everybody was getting hooked on drugs.
Yeah, man.
Um,
I
I,
I
I like this was like
I
90,
saw it.
93, 94.
Hmm.
Um, you know, actually ran. I was the manager at EJ's, which turned into
DJs.
Backdrafts
Yeah.
on
Y'all had great
Custora.
shows
So
there.
yeah, and that's where I mean, man, looking back at some of the videotapes that of the oh, it was just such a fun time. It looks like whenever they show the Cat House or the Whiskey a Go Go back in those days, it was the same shit. I mean, we were
Yes.
having fun. We were taking advantage of what people were
Yeah.
putting out in front of us. But anyway,
Yes.
back
Hey,
to
we
your
were in our
question.
20s, man. That's how we rolled. Yeah, man. Shit.
Yeah, yeah, it was awesome, dude. I
Yes.
started kind of taking those video cassettes and digitizing them, and when I'm
Yeah.
watching them back, I'm like, nobody can ever see this. It was just
Right. They're gonna stay classified. Oh my
exactly,
goodness, that's
boom,
right.
classified.
Yep. Shit. Good times, man. So
No,
you were
but
doing that, all right, over at the EJ's. Damn.
yeah, right. So around that time, stuff started getting crazy. A lot of my friends were getting on drugs. I couldn't keep up with that, so I retreated. I retreated to Alice, Texas, where I was born. I went and lived on a ranch with my cousins, and
All right.
really wanted to get grounded. It was like the true pure country George Strait story, right? I was
Yeah.
just
Okay.
sick of drugs, sick of booze, sick of nudity, and just the decadence that I was just I was
That's
seeing
it.
people die. Just it was too much for me.
Yeah.
So I moved back to Alice, and man, just it was great. Um, Kind of took what I knew over there to my cousins, who this is the cousins to their sons to the uncle who was in the Tejano band, right?
Great. Okay.
So they're like, hey, if my dad's not playing, let's set up the equipment in the casita and let's jam.
Yeah.
So okay, so another cousin from San Diego was really into Social Distortion and just really anything with three chords. We were just having a lot of
Okay.
fun,
Yeah.
and I knew of Social Distortion too, and I loved punk rock by then. I just didn't know how to make that change. Well, that was it. So my cousin was a
That was
drummer,
it.
the one that I lived with. My
Yeah.
other cousin was a good guitar player, and I played bass. And we had nothing to do but drink natural light and jam.
Yeah.
And we learned 100 songs. We were just like, let's learn all these Ramones songs. Let's learn all these social unwritten law. Just Blink 182, like everything we that was coming out punk. We were in the casita and we were
Wow.
woodshedding. And so
Yeah.
what was big in Alice at the time was mini truck or lowrider shows.
Yeah.
So we started playing that. Then we were playing ranch parties that would get rowdy. I mean, it was like a scene from La Bamba when you're like, you're gonna play rock and roll to these shit kickers, right? No, it was like
Yeah.
we were playing punk rock to these people who,
Yeah.
it was insane. And then we moved to the circuit in Kingsville, the college circuit, and by then I
Awesome.
had got in a bass player, Rico Sanchez from San Diego, and I moved over to guitar. And we were called the Love Handles at the time.
All right.
And yeah, so we did a couple of years doing that, and then people grew up. It was like another cycle. I wanted to do
Okay.
more. I wanted to do
Yeah.
more and take it to other heights. And some people were like, man, I got a job and I don't know if I can do this. And so I had to detach from that. And then that's when the Really Rottens were created with James
Ooh,
Griffiths,
okay.
who was originally in Dead Man's Hand. And then I had met Henry Aguilar there in Keensville. So that was the birth of the Really Rottens about 1995.
All right. And Henry was drummer?
Henry was the drummer, yeah. So we were a three
Oh, a
piece
three piece.
to begin with,
Yeah.
yeah.
Wow, man. All right. And so did it feel pretty, was the adjustment to singing and guitar something that kind of came easily for you? Because I had to wear those shoes for a little while in my band's integrity. And my guitar
Mm,
player just showed me how to play, and I picked it up, and I enjoyed it for a while. But I much rather have just been on the mic. So when it ended up being
yeah.
Ray from Los Music that took my spot on guitar, and I was more than happy to give it to
Mm.
him because I was like, shit, it was hard. It took a lot of work. How was it for you to kind of to make
Yeah.
that come together, singing and guitar playing?
Well, it was an adjustment, and I still make it as easy as possible for myself. When I wanted
Great.
to, when I wanted to get into more production value in the music, I hired a lead guitar player, and it's been
Ooh,
that way
okay.
since. I've had I don't know about 20 of them in the career of the Really Rottens, but that's only because my dream would just be to be behind the mic only.
Yeah.
Um, uh, but just playing the three or four chords is okay. I don't. I'm not a lead player. I'm not a virtuoso. I use the guitar as a tool to write songs. I
Yeah,
don't I don't jam. People call me up, "Hey, come and jam this song." I don't do that. I don't know how to do that. I mean, here's like the cat out of the bag. I only know how to play my songs, and that's all I ever wanted to do, you know.
great.
So
Yeah,
uh so if I need instrumentation, I hire somebody or somebody comes in to do that, or we figure out a way to make it work within there. Um,
good.
but that, you know, yeah.
Hey, that's
Yes, and
cool.
yes, it wasn't to answer your question, it was an adjustment, and I adjusted pretty well, pretty well.
Yeah, you adjusted. Hey, it's one of those things where you got to work upon your strengths and make things easier for yourself. It's just like a singer. I can't hit tons of high notes. Maybe at the beginning of a rehearsal or is the best time for me to do those kind of things. But as the rehearsal goes on, I'm not going to be sounding strong or be able to hit those same kind of notes. So I gotta,
Yeah,
maybe tune down. Maybe the
yeah.
guitar might have to go down a
Yeah,
key or
well,
something.
and let me
So
say, you're a great vocalist, by the way. I mean, I'd seen you a couple of times, but working with you,
yeah.
I admire you because you have. I don't. So when I see you conduct our practices for the Harbor City All Stars, I love it because you don't waste any minute that you have doing what you love. And that's the one thing that pisses me off about some of these musicians is like, okay, so you got this heavy ass equipment, you put it up on stage, you spent all your money on this equipment, and you're going to stand up here and they gave you 45 minutes to do you, and that's it. You're going to stand there and you're going to dress like a slob. You're not. I mean, I'm totally into the entertainment value, so I don't
Yeah.
have any pity on people that don't give a shit about playing music and use it as a money grab
Yeah.
or just something to do. So forgive me. I hope nobody hates me after this interview, but I don't
Hey, I
care.
I dig it, man. And that's sincerity, and that comes from someone that's been in it and been in the grind and done it for so long and puts heart and passion into what you do. And yeah, man, I've seen that same kind of behavior, from other artists, musicians out there and stuff. And at the end of the day, I I stay in my lane and just trying to encourage
Right.
my peers and
Right.
just keep them fired up and do whatever I
Yeah.
can to keep it going. And when we get together for the Harbor City All Stars, I always feel so much pressure that I've got all this talent around me and everybody's got so much of their own thing going on that I've got to take advantage of these 2 hours that I've got of their time. And as well as any other band members know that getting four guys in a room together at one time can be a real bitch. And you would think it'd be simple and everybody wants to do it, but yeah,
Yeah.
sometimes work gets in the way, life gets in the way, and we just got to be flexible
Yeah.
with life and our and our
Yeah,
and
and
our
that
and our
that says a lot about the way you conduct things and the way these musicians feel about giving back. Because yes, it is hard. It's hard getting another dude to come over and learn some stuff with me, much less
yeah,
14 dudes and three
right.
sessions in one day or 2 days. So
Holy smoke.
I have a whole new respect and added respect for everybody that gives
Yeah,
the Tony's Twisted Christmas because I mean, I don't know, I just love it. We all had a good time
I tell
practicing
you, yeah,
and then doing the show, and then of course the food bank is my favorite charity to do stuff for. And
awesome.
which reminds me, I guess after the interview, I do want to talk to you about something. Remind me to add to the
Okay.
charity, but yeah.
All right, awesome. Well, out of the history of you writing so much music, and I know you've been a songwriter for so many years, Jimmy. Is there maybe a particular song or maybe a couple of songs that you're really proud of?
Yeah, one we recorded recently a couple of years ago with Brian at Harbor City Sound Lab. Uh, "You Saved My Soul," rock and roll is
Yes, that's the
probably
jam, man. Yeah,
I
that's a
think
great jam.
and I'll tell you a little story about that song is it was another time that I was just fed up with everybody and their shit. I actually had one of the best band lineups I'd had in a long time, but I don't know. I guess it's just me. I was just not seeing any progression. It was the same set list all the time. Why do we
Yeah.
need to practice? We already know those songs, and I don't like that. Um, so I told everybody to fuck off, basically, and just kind of went into uh, I like I just kind of wanted to be by myself, and that song came out. So that is
Yeah.
the guy from King's X, the singer. I can't think
Yes.
of his name right now.
Uh, Doug Pinnick.
Yeah, Doug Pinnick. Yes, on that metal show one time they asked him how he writes songs, and he said, "Well, in your twenties, well, your teens and twenties, you write about what you want to do,
Yeah.
party. I want to travel. In your thirties into your forties, you write about what you're doing." And then after that, you write about what you did.
Yeah.
And
Wow, that's
and
very
that's
insightful.
yeah, that song was summing up everything. It talks about just me falling in love with music
Yeah.
and meeting every obstacle
Yes.
and you just, going through it with perseverance and because that was my calling.
Yeah.
My parents were divorced. um I didn't have a horrible childhood, but I was very confused because I lived in a town where everything was like ranching, and everybody grew up to be a teacher or own a small business, and I wanted to rock and roll. I wanted to
Yeah.
wear makeup and grow my hair long, and I had my mom pierced
Yes.
my ears when I was in the fourth grade, and I was called a queer. I was called a faggot. I got my ass kicked, and but I loved rock and roll. I didn't give a
That's
shit,
right.
you know.
Yeah. Yeah,
So
man.
that's why Corpus seemed like such a mecca to me, because
Right.
when I would come hang with my cousins, everybody was gothed out, and they
Yeah.
were exactly who the hell they wanted to be, and I was like, you know what? So I'm actually a runaway. I just had enough with Kingsville, and I found a way out, and I ran away. I lived on the streets here in Corpus, and
Shit.
I just
Yeah.
wanted to rock, man. I mowed lawns with my dad and partied at night and slept wherever they'd let me, but it was all
Yeah.
for the love of rock and roll.
Man, I'm telling you, that's an anthem. That song, man. Yeah, I love all the lyrics for it. It's so well done, and it freaking jams. And what about the artwork? I saw the artwork on that. Who did that?
It's like pieces. I'm good at Photoshop. I'm not good at
Yeah, because it
drawing.
looks like it's
So
like a
it's kind
tattoo, right?
yeah, so it's just kind of some stuff that I got off the internet and put together
Very cool.
for that artwork. Yeah.
Very well done. That very sharp. I like that. Very sharp. And that's
Thanks.
a jam.
Thanks.
That's a jam. You've been pretty busy with the singles, right then I saw like I guess maybe 2019, 20. You were dropping some singles, and you even did a really good a really badass version of Tiffany's song too. I
Oh,
think we're
yeah.
alone now. Yeah, I was like, hey man,
Right.
that's cool. Hey, I've always liked that jam. It's always it. I know all the words to it. You know what I mean? And
Yeah.
and going through listening to that last night, I was going, oh yeah, it's a freaking bad jam. And I've heard it before. I want to say that um, maybe you've had it on maybe like one of our local licks or one of our local channels out here, because I know back in the day we went
Possibly.
right when we
I'm
still
not sure.
had
So
Go ahead.
Oh yeah, yeah. They would play local licks at C101.
Yeah,
Um, yeah,
they
I
showed
know
y'all
rock and
love.
roll came. Yeah, yeah, they would play us a lot. They played a song called "My True North," which is on that same album, Rock and Roll Royalty. They would play that one a lot, and radio.
Yeah.
But going back to the Tiffany song, it's I'm a huge Tommy James and the Shondells fan. So
Okay.
he was the original
The
artist.
original.
He actually did that one. He did Money Money, um, Crystal Blue Persuasion, Dragging the Line, and Crimson and Clover. Those
Those
are
are
all him.
bangers. Yeah, those are
I
hits.
know, I know.
Yes. No wonder it's like,
So
hey, so you paying homage and a tribute to him and a song that everybody's very familiar with, man. I like your version of that. That's a
yeah,
badass version. Good job.
I think that was a COVID version. That was me and Saul. Saul Padron is the guitar player on that, and then
Okay.
everything else is produced here. Easy drummer, and then
Way to
I play
go.
yeah,
The
do
bass
everything
and
else.
guitar.
Yeah.
Badass. And do you have a new release that you're working on? I thought I saw you posting that you were laying down some bass tracks.
Yeah, I have a couple of things in the works. I haven't really been real happy with the direction that my mind's going right now. I've I, I'm very nostalgic. I'm one of those guys like Alex Dominguez. We talked about him earlier. Was I have like as many flyers and I have all the recordings on tape and every video in my whole closet is just the history of everything I've done. And I'm
Yes.
trying to get out of doing that. I've even considered changing the name to the band, just to kind of break away into a 50-year-old's mindset without losing touch of where I've come from. But
Interesting.
I don't want to
Yes.
be I don't want to be I don't want to be a 50-year-old punk rocker. I just want to be a musician.
Yeah.
Not that I hate punk rock, I love it, but I think when the genres are put on you, you kind of feel like you have to be a certain way, and well,
I
in a way,
understand. Yeah.
punk rock kind of allowed me not to do that for so long, but punk rock wasn't what it is now when I did it. When I first heard of
Right.
punk rock, I was with a bunch of friends in Robstown, Texas, and they were listening to uh, Operation Ivy, Wendy O. Williams and the Plasmatics, and they were in a little casita drinking and moshing, and then all of a sudden
Yeah.
they'd be listening to Social Distortion or Pinhead Gunpowder. And I was like, what is this? And they're like, it's punk rock. It's whatever you want it to be. And I was like, well,
Yeah.
that fits my
I
lifestyle.
like the way
You
it's
know,
put that way. It's
now
whatever you
it's a
want it
little,
to be.
yeah,
Yeah. I really
yeah.
dig
So
that.
now it's a little different.
Yeah, it. My first band was a punk band as well, Aggravated Assault back in the day, and that's when I first got
Oh,
started. I
yeah.
was I was a drummer, and I love playing drums. I went to Del Mar and I studied drums for a couple of years,
Oh,
and I
killer.
really loved it. But the flavor I was getting into right then in the '90s, my first years of college, was like heavier music. That's when a lot of
Yeah.
death metal was coming out, and I couldn't play drums like that. I could keep a beat, of course, but I couldn't keep a double bass pattern going like all these guys do nowadays without even trying. And so
Oh,
I
yeah,
needed
I
to
know.
find
Yeah.
another way to keep myself in the mix, and that ended up being vocals. And luckily for me, it just out of heart and soul, I'm not a great singer, but I just do the best I can. I just do the very best I can and make the best of my talents and
Yeah.
trying to and stick to my strengths and not and, I'm no Bruce Dickinson, so I'm not going to be signing up to in my cover bands. I'm not the one to bring up any Iron Maiden songs at all, and I feel bad about it because Iron Maiden is one of my favorite bands. but I'm
Hmm.
more of the Paul Di'Anno, the first three albums than I am the Bruce Dickinson. But
Right.
I love those Dickinson. I would love to be able to sing Wasted Years. And I told my guys, hey, we'll do it. And I'm just gonna, like anything else I do, it's like, hey, I'm gonna put my best foot forward and work my ass off. And the harder I work and the longer I work at it, hey, it's gonna come out pretty cool. And so
Right. And that's another true sign of professionalism is knowing your limits and doing the best with what you've got, right?
yeah,
That's all
right.
we can do.
That's
Yeah.
right, bro. And thinking about all the different guitar players that you've had the pleasure of being able to experience and influence and listen to since you've gotten into guitar playing, give me three of your favorite guitar players. Who do you like to
I can give
give
them to
them?
you real quick.
All right, tell me.
Richie Sambora, CC DeVille, and
Yeah.
Warren DeMartini.
Wow, dude. Hey,
And
each one of those guys kicks ass. I love them all.
and I'll tell you why is because even at a young age, before uh, the YouTube science of music came out and said this makes a great song,
yeah.
is you sang every one of those solos like they were lyrics to the song. The
Yeah.
phrasing to those three guys, I mean, I'm sure there's more, but those are my top three.
Yeah. Love them. Love those guys. Have you
Yeah,
seen them all play live? You been able to catch them?
I have. I've
Nice.
seen Bon Jovi twice. I've seen Poison. I've seen CC DeVille once, and I've seen Warren DeMartini a couple of times. Yeah,
Nice. Yeah,
yeah,
and very
fabulous.
very being able to see our idols like that and kicking ass just keeps our fire burning and makes
Yeah.
us just even that much more bought in to everything we're doing and everything that we have a passion for right there. So
Mhm.
also you got to tell me, I know you're an entrepreneur. Tell me about Smithwick's guitar shop. Guitar repair, should I say.
Yeah. It's
When did it get
work.
started? When did it get started? I, I've
It got.
had my guys tell me they've taken their guitars too, and you always do them great. So,
Thank you.
how long have you been doing it?
On my own, I've been doing it since about 2014. That
2014.
when I retreated back, going back to the beginning, when I retreated back to Alice to be in the Love Handles, I found myself in Kingsville. Now, in between, I would still work with Phil Salazar and Robert Alanis. I was doing sound. That was my job. I would
Yeah.
still come back to Corpus, but I met a girl in Kingsville, and so I spent a lot of time there. We got married. That was my second marriage, um, and that didn't work out. So when that didn't work out, I
Okay.
moved I moved to back to Corpus. I stayed with David Hawkins, and I called old Robert Arsuaga at Sound Vibes, and I said, "I need a job." And
Yeah.
he said, "Well, we're hiring." This was 2002, and so I was there for about 10 years. And
Wow. Cool.
I hated selling. I'm not a salesman. I hated
Yeah, I
making
get it.
people try and buy shit they don't need for money I know that they don't have.
Yeah.
And but so I kind of just put myself into learning how to repair guitars.
Yeah.
Well, after about
Cool.
9.5 years there, I went to Guitar Morgue for a little bit with Ben Montes, and he was kind enough to
Yeah.
let
Shout
me
out,
work
Ben.
on stuff there.
Yeah.
I opened a little shop for a very short time before Barrett hired me at Guitar Center, which I loved
Great.
everybody I worked with, but I
Barrett.
hated working there. And
Okay.
uh, I'm sorry, I'm just being honest, but
No, it's all good.
only
Hell
because
yeah.
it was a retail establishment in a place where you had to work like in a shop environment.
Okay.
So
Yeah.
I was very constricted. I already knew how to do that. It's like somebody who specializes in transmissions having to do oil changes all day. It was boring.
Yeah.
So
I get it.
I I left and I started my own shop, and it's been going great. It's been going great. You know,
That is super
it's
cool.
yeah. I
What?
work on some of the coolest guitars, and I
Yeah.
work on some of the coolest people's instruments,
Yes.
and it inspired me to start. I listen to the coolest stories in the world.
Man,
I mean,
share one or two with me. I know we talked about that, and I really thought that was awesome because I know in your trade, you just come in contact with all these amazing musicians, and I know
yeah,
when they get around you, you start talking shop. So,
yeah.
is
Well,
it
a lot
anything
of
off the
the a
top of your
lot of
head?
yeah. Well, some of the most interesting stuff is not always music related. You
Right,
know,
sure.
a lot of them are when I talk to the war veterans that come in, and they found they found peace through music and playing
Oh, love
guitar.
it. Yeah.
And while I'm fixing their guitar, they're talking about something that I will never understand: being in a war, being in the front lines, being in a submarine, being in a on a carrier jet about to get attacked on, you know. It's
Holy
insane.
shit. That's
It gives me
right.
chills just talking about it, you know. And
Yeah.
that's when I feel good about what I do, you know, for someone like that. And then there's the people that you would never guess had a career in playing with different people, and just because they're
Yeah.
real humble, you know.
Right.
I don't know. It's just and then, or you know, and the other thing is taking care of someone's guitars who 15 years ago I sold them their first guitar. You know what I
That's
mean? And
awesome. Yeah.
seeing that journey, like locally here, Ben. You know, I've known Ben Salinas since he was a kid. I mean, he still is a kid to me, but you know, when he was like a real kid.
Is that right? Oh,
Shay,
wow.
yeah, Shayna Sands, local artist here. I mean, she was just but a young girl when she would come in and get her SG strung up, you know, and now
Yeah.
she's a prolific songwriter. Justin Ortiz, you know, he was a kid when I first met. I mean, it's just great. It's just great.
Yeah, man. Oh, I love it when it comes full circle like that. That is super cool. I saw on your site that you also do some writing for Partners in Crime. I don't think I've asked about that before. What is that, Partners in Crime?
Um, Partners in Crime is kind of a collective of me and my buddy Derek Burgess. We wanted to get into writing a script. He's a writer, and I've been a writer before. I work with Department 13 Films here in Corpus Christi. We started out in Alice. We started. My buddy Gilbert Aguirre went to film school, and he's really great. He has Department 13 out there on Port and Broadway, and we've done music videos. We started out doing a couple of videos for Abraham Quintanilla.
Wow.
We have a movie that we produced ourselves uh, way back in the day with some really cool players uh, that are doing stuff in the music industry now. Um, we did music videos. He's done music videos for La Conquista, for AB, for I don't know, just a lot of film work. But the second part to that is I come from Alice, Texas, and I'm going to make this one short. My great grandfather was involved in Lyndon B. Johnson becoming into the Senate through voter fraud back in the day, ballot box 13. It's a huge story that happened in Alice, Texas. And you can look it up. It's in every one of Lyndon B. Johnson's biographies. But
Wow.
I've always wanted to kind of, you know, write about that. So coming to
Yeah.
your question, I got with Derek and I said, hey, I want to write an episodic show of a young guy who is a who's a lawman, and he comes to He comes back to Alice, but he's got to live with the stigma of what happened back with his great grandfather. And so that's how that all came about. So we wrote the pilot episode, we registered it, people have been reading it, and then we're going to start writing the second episode here in a couple of weeks. He's also my bass player,
Cool.
so we can only get enough of so much of each other. It's like, what do you want to do? You want to write or you want to do band stuff? Because we can't do both.
Yeah. What are we gonna focus on this time around, right? Golly.
Right,
Derek's an
right.
awesome bass player, dude. He is awesome, man. Is he playing with
Yeah.
Seattle Rising now?
Yeah, he plays with Seattle Rising.
I thought
Yeah.
I'd seen his picture. Yeah. Yeah,
Yeah,
not too
he
many,
joined
not too
them.
many
I guess it's
guys out there looking like myself out there in the scene. You know what I mean? So me, when I see Derek, I was like, yes, all right, hell yeah. And I remember we shared the stage over there at Boozers, last Christmas, and we did a little Toys for Tots benefit together with the Really
that's right.
Rotnz at Headbangers Pit and Cat House. And I remember seeing you guys said, and it
Chica's
was a
Rock, right?
rocker. Yeah, yeah,
Yeah,
man, it was a good
yeah,
one. That was a great that was a
yeah.
great time, man.
So
Golly.
Derek was in a band. Derek was in a band back in the day called Clobber Bomb. Uh, I
Okay.
think nineties. I met Derek back at Sound Vibes. He'd come in, can I put a sticker up? Yeah. Can I put a flyer up? Yeah. But up
Yeah.
until I guess 5 years ago now, he's been in the band. I
Yeah.
was having bass player auditions, and he showed up, and we became fast friends.
Yeah. Yeah. Super cool guy. Shout out to Derek. Keep rocking, man.
Yeah,
So,
hell yeah.
also, the other thing you got going on is your podcast. What's the name of the podcast? Are we still
Well, to
working on
tell you the
that?
truth, still working on that. I have, as you can tell, I have a lot of things going
You
on.
do. You have a
Jack of all
lot.
trades,
That's
master of none.
exciting. Yeah. Hey, well, you have such a big heart and a big passion for music, and that's why you got your repair going on. You got your music going on. You got the podcasting going on. You've got the writing for Partners in Crime, and that's what's so awesome about um, your history and what's got you there is because all
Yeah.
this is built up to where we are now, and now you've got so many things that you want to accomplish and get done.
Hmm.
And
Yeah.
I know how it is about the podcasting, man. I talked about it for about a good year before I finally jumped off the cliff and got busy with the gear I had. And it was all about me not just being scared of the unknown, because I was like, man, I barely
Right.
know how to, work my way around it in a recording studio to figure out how do I got to record tracks. But now I'm thinking, damn, I'm gonna do this thing on my own. And luckily, there's a little app called Anchor that got me going. That really just took the worries and the concern out of it, and it made it so user friendly that one thing led to another, and now I'm hooked up with Daniel Adama, and he's got me the full professional setup. But
Nice.
podcasting is something that I've really really enjoyed and I've really loved, and since I got it, eventually I want to get to getting all of our Harbor City All Stars on the show, because each one of you guys has got a great past, and are grinders, man, and are lovers of music, and great human beings. And that's why, when it came to getting you guys together, back in 2019, shit, I could have called anybody, but I want to call people that I want to play with, that I haven't had a chance to play with, that I feel we have that in common, that we love music,
Yeah.
that we love this kind of music, or we can even adjust to it for the time being, because we want to help out the community and do what we can for our neighbors, and make the best of being in the Christmas spirit. And
Yeah.
it's been a hell of a ride, and that's why I wanted to get you in here today and talk about the other things that you've got going on. And
Yeah.
I've seen that you've already got you've interviewed some big shots already. I've seen some names there going through your Facebook, and how you spent some time and talking to some legends here in the scene. And when it comes to to get in the podcast. If there's anything I can do to help, I'm only a phone call away. If I need to
I
go over
appreciate
there,
that.
yeah, I want to help. I'm still very novice at this, but I want us to be able to grow, because I think this is something that that you would put on some great shows. You've got a great history. You've been there. You've lived it. And when and other guys that are in their teens and 16, 17, 18, haven't gotten into their 20s yet, but know they want to have a life like me and you have had, where we're just,
Hmm.
I've always been involved in music, have always been playing, have always wanted to get out there and be on stage. It makes us happy.
Yeah.
It makes us feel fulfilled
Yeah.
and good. And
My goal I think is to start. Well, I think you and I both have laid a lot of bricks, right?
yeah,
But I really want to see Corpus. Um, I don't know if I want to see it grow into a place that I don't want to live anymore, but I'd like for everybody to learn how to utilize everything there is to be gotten, right?
yes, I
And
like where you're going
to
with
take it.
this. Yes.
Yeah.
uh,
So when I do things, the hardest part for me is when I do things. I have the devil and angel and on my shoulders, and it's like, am I going to do this good? Right. I don't want the haters hating, and I don't want the people that support me to be disappointed. But it's only because I don't want anybody to be discouraged by wanting to try anything. That's why when I go on stage,
yeah.
I mean, there's a lot of factors before I go on stage that people don't know about. But when I hit the stage, I turn all that shit off, right? I
Yeah.
got to turn off the day. I got to turn off. A I have a horrible stage fright. You know what I mean? Horrible. And I got to turn that off because this is what I signed up for. You know what I mean?
yeah.
So
Yeah.
putting the podcast together, it has been a little challenge because I want it to be good, and not in a vain kind of way, but just so that when somebody like I did when I first going full circle, when I saw Jason McMaster in the magazines, Hit Parader magazines, and I still have the pictures, and I found out he was from Corpus. It made it that much more possible. It made it that
yes.
much more possible. I'm like, he's from Corpus? That
Yes.
means I can do that shit too. And that was it.
Absolutely. Yeah. Yeah, and I feel the same way. My moment were just similar to yours, where you saw Jason, was me seeing Dave Brinkman, the singer from Anchor Wat. Was like,
Mm.
I was hanging out at the park with my friends. We were playing baseball. Next thing you know, I see at one of the corner homes a big, tall, white guy with you look like a mohawk. And I'm like, what the hell? Looks like the singer from Anchor Wat. And my other friend was like, dude, that was the singer. Are you serious? He lives there? Well, it looks like it. Well, let's go knock at his door. And then, meeting him and him being just such a great, sincere, individual and great guy, man. I just, um, said, you know what? I can do this too. Because in our eyes, he was already a rock star. We were going to shows and seeing him do his thing. So, I had that moment right there, and that made me a believer. Made me a believer that I
Yeah.
can do this shit too. Hell yeah! And
Yeah.
that's
Danny Loner and Adam Grossman used to come to Dead Man's Hand shows, and I was like,
yeah,
I mean, I knew they had records out, man. They were
right.
like they would
These
come
guys are
up and
coming
go,
to
"Hey man,
jam.
good show." Yeah, a good show, man. I'd be like, "Holy shit, man! They're here." They were at Zeros one time, and they went and saw me at the Stardust one time as well when I played with Hellstar and
Yeah,
Adam Grossman. Yeah, he's a cool dude. Danny Loner too. Danny Loner.
yeah. Very cool, guys. Yes. So I felt like we were getting ready to go to a part where we're going to be talking about this great event that I know you're helping Casey Lane put together, and it's going to be the Coastal Bend Music Industry Symposium. And I'm
Mhm.
really proud and happy that we're going to have something like this so awesome available for all of us musicians. Tell me more about that, Jimmy.
Okay, so the symposium is a way for people to come in and really grasp and ask all the questions they have on how to register a song, how to copyright a song, They're throwing on some other panels on marketing, like what
Yes.
venues are looking for to book bands, because the common questions of the guy in a band, you got all this other shit to deal with like what kind of strings am I going to use on my guitar? What, when are we going to
Yeah,
jam? Well, there's more to it than that, and sometimes it's not so easy when you're trying to decipher forms to fill out or websites to go to. And I've been lucky enough to be a part of BMI almost 20 years. And I take advantage, this is what I was saying before, I take advantage of every time I play my original stuff in a venue. I go on a app now. I used to have to do it manually, and I get royalties, for playing in a licensed venue that pays that licensing fee. Just like anybody would, Bon Jovi or Bruce Springsteen, I get royalties, and I pass it on to some musicians, and so has Matt Martinez, and we thought, hey, then Casey was like, well, I pay this fee, and so do all these other bars, and we're sending it away. We're sending it out of Corpus Christi.
yeah.
We need to educate our songwriters, our producers, anybody who's published something, to learn how to get this money. And at least when these, friends of ours who own bars are paying these $4,000 a year licensing fees, that they know that it's going to people they know.
I love that. That is super cool. That's really, keeping it local and really living it, and
Right.
and showing us our artists how to do it. It's one thing to make the music, but it's a business, and of course, in the long run, all of us artists, musicians would love to be able to make music as a way of life, and to be able to support our lifestyle, where we didn't have to do
Right.
like a regular day job. And
Right.
these are the ways that you
And
get a little closer to that.
right. And so, and I won't get too into it because I'll leave it for the symposium, but people that are
Sure.
wondering about the symposium. So, in with BMI, there's an artist royalty and there's a publishing royalty, and it's just great ways to grow too. Um, I got to work for the Cult one time, and I had a conversation
Yes.
with Ian Asbury. I'm not name drop, but
Yeah. Oh, that's the man right
he
there. Yeah.
we were eating before the show,
Yeah.
and he said, do you agree that rock and roll is dead? And I said,
Hmm.
oh no, I don't know. I'm not in the business. I'm local, right? And he said, hip hop is the new rock and roll because they Jay-Z has 50 artists right now signed, and he sets them out there, but he owns a piece of everything that they've got. And rock and rollers don't really do that. Let's say you and me wanted to write a song together. I could pay you a studio fee for 50 to 100 or $200, or I could say, hey, I'll cut you in on 20 points on the back end. And this is where that comes in.
Okay.
It's trading points. Yeah. You're like, yeah, just cut me in on 20 points. And I go, okay. So when I fill out my form, I go, in the artist 100, because there's publishing 100 and artist 100, I'm cutting Tony Gomez into 20% of this
Yes.
100. It doesn't mean that you have any licensing to the song, you can't make any decisions, but if this song gets put on a movie or a video game, because of your efforts, you get that. And that's how you grow.
That's how you
That's how you
grow.
grow
Yeah.
songwriting.
That's
Yeah.
amazing, man. I love it. And that's a lot of talk that I don't hear in my circles. It's always, hey, what songs we learning, or hey, what songs we're gonna practice. We got a new show coming up. That's the usual talk that comes up between band members. But then there's also those other bands that are taking it to the next level. And I got to shout out to my guys like Joe and Mark, from the Harbor City All Stars, that make it reality in Southern Revival. They're
Hmm.
signed. I believe it's King's Records. They got a new album that just came out. These guys are going to
Yeah.
Austin, going to Valley, San Antonio.
A new video.
New video, and they're really hustling. They're really making it happen.
Yeah.
So this is a perfect kind of symposium for all of these guys to figure out, or not to figure out, but to make sure that now that they've got all this hustle going on and got all this activity, that this getting them registered in BMI, getting them tied in is going to get a good return. And guys like Casey can be like, hey, I don't feel so bad about sending $4,000 off every year when I know that guys like Relly Rotnz or or of course Southern Revival or other newer bands around here are getting a little bit of that back, because like you say,
That's right.
if you're sending it out someplace else, and us artists don't know how to take advantage of that kind of opportunity that's out there. But we gotta grind, we gotta do the legwork,
Yeah,
and do our side of it to be able to get kind of any kind of consequence out of that. But it's worth it, and it's what takes us to the next level, and it's what keeps you growing. And I'm excited about
right.
it.
Yeah,
It's going to be great.
I write. I've been writing with some Tejano artists, and one of the things is when we come to that point about sharing points,
Yeah,
the form is sometimes it can seem complicated to some people. I mean, it's still complicated to me when I'm going on there. I'm just like, oh man, I forgot about this. I haven't done it. But when you're
yeah,
first registering, it can be a little daunting, especially to somebody who's not in those circles. And I saw this a lot last year. I still have about 5 songs that I co-wrote with some friends of mine in the Tejano industry, and they're sitting there because one of them hasn't signed up for BMI yet because he's afraid of the form. I don't know. And I was like, no, it needs to be easier.
yeah.
It needs to be easier for the layman, the guy who just wants to. And so we decided to educate. Casey was doing a commercial that I was working on at Department 13, and I told him the idea, and he said, I've had the same idea, and here we are. Almost a year later, we're
Yeah.
doing it.
Thank goodness. And for you guys that haven't had a chance to register or sign up, you can go to Jimmy Smithwick's Facebook page, to my Facebook page. We both posted about it. Look down our feed and just click on the link. It's a real simple way to sign up and get registered. I'll be there. Jimmy will be there. A lot of our
It's
friends
free.
are going to be there. It's free. You're just registering,
It's
and
free.
the ticket's
Yeah,
free.
and one more thing I want to add is that it's just not me and Casey. It's also the Visit CC, and what it kind of coincides with Visit CC wanting to make it a music friendly city so that they can
Awesome.
put more efforts into stuff that's happened musically. I mean, as
Yeah.
you know, because we've been Corpus Christians for a long time. I mean, we've lost Bayfest, we've lost Sea Sculptures. Everything
Yeah.
has just been
Things we would look
downsized.
forward
And
to.
not to get into a rant, but since I have a platform, I'm going to jump on a
Yeah.
soapbox. Everybody treats like bands and music like it's the last thing on the list. And my challenge to all those people: have an event with no music, have
Right.
anything with no music. You can't even barely have a funeral without music these days. But
Great
I think
point.
it's time that, yeah, I think that we really should stand up and educate ourselves with this symposium and be smart when we're going into these business ventures and make this as lucrative as LA or Austin or New York City. I mean, I've been here a long
Yeah.
time. I've seen nothing but talent. But in that same talent, I've just seen, um, to put it lightly, just a little bit of ignorance. And, that doesn't mean dumb. It just means not educated, right? And I think that if you feel like you don't know everything, you need to go to the symposium and get close,
That's
because it
right.
could only help you and everybody that you work with.
Yeah, absolutely. Education is the key to your freedom right there. And so the more you can
That's
educate
right.
yourself about your music and about your craft right there, you can maximize your potential and capitalize on all the work and the products that you slave over. And
That's right.
it's all justified. It's all justified, and I just feel like
Exactly.
all of us artists, it doesn't matter what kind of music you do. Please sign up and come to the symposium. There's something for everybody. I don't know anybody in this town that feels like they know everything. So when it comes to music, so please get over here and join us, and let's make this a
Yes,
hopefully a yearly
please.
event. And like you said, this is in conjunction with Visit CC. Wouldn't it be great if music was such a huge part of getting recognized by the Corpus tourist scene, that maybe we could get our own, yearly festival back? Maybe, maybe not. It's not going to be Bayfest, or maybe it's not going to be called Sea Sculptures, but maybe it's going to be something special out there on the beach again during spring break, or maybe something that they're
Yeah.
going to close off a part of downtown to open up a couple of stages where you're going to have, live bands, and then, other things going on as well. um,
Yeah.
and bring in,
But
national acts, local acts, merge them all together. All of our Texas bands. From Texas is a country all of our own, and if we just
yeah.
utilize everybody that we just got here, we could make Corpus Christi rock just as much as Austin, San Antonio and Houston. But
Yeah, I think it's that much responsibility of the bands out there as it is to the promoters. But if you're in a
yeah,
band and you're watching this, be the best that you can be. Do the best you can be.
yeah,
I see raw talent. Every day at work when people come in, undiscovered people, just people coming out of their shell or not knowing how to come out of their shell. So it's
yeah,
important for people like you and myself to lead by example, to get up on that stage and tear a fucking hole in it every time we play. And then people like Casey and the Visit CC to educate our musicians and open those pathways and not make it so
yeah.
intimidating to be an artist in this town.
That's right. Great advice right there. Make it approachable. Being a young musician growing up in this town, it was the moments where I came in contact with veteran musicians, and how encouraging they were, and how supportive that they were. That kept me, hungry, and kept me like, hey, this is where I need to be, and this is my home,
Hmm.
and kept me fired up this whole time. And that's going to
Yeah.
be a great event. I can't wait. So February 16th, Thursday night, House of Rock, of course. Make sure you go on to either, my Facebook page or Jimmy's Facebook page. Go to the link, or go to the House of Rock Facebook page and check out that link and get yourself registered. So I'm looking forward to that. That's going to be awesome.
Thank
Jimmy, the
you.
next thing I
Thank
want
you.
to get to is going to be something in regards to um, a post that I saw on your Facebook page, and it was an awesome beginner violin that was designed in the vein of Eddie Van Halen's classic
Oh,
Kramer. Who did that design, man? That's awesome. Did you do that?
no, no. So my buddy
That was
Ron
awesome.
Parker, yeah, my buddy Ron Parker, who plays in the band Hollow Point out of Houston, and he runs
Cool.
Iron Cross windshield glass here. He's got just this knack for.
Wow.
He's got an eye for detail, right? And
Yeah.
he creates like if he'll find a body, a strap body at a pawn shop. He'll paint it exactly, and then we'll order some stuff, and I'll but I had some violins laying around that I found up in my closet when I was cleaning out, and I said, "Hey, paint one of these like that." He's like, "Hell yeah!" So
Yeah.
yeah,
That's how
I
it
still need to
happened.
put it together, but yeah, I don't know if I'm going to use it for like a raffle or sell it or whatever, but it came out really cool. It came out really
Yeah.
cool.
Perfect. Is there a favorite guitar that
So
you own, that is your favorite to play on stage with or record with?
yeah, well, I play on stage with a Gibson ES 137 semi hollow body that I've had for a long time. And to
That's a bad
record
boy.
with, I use, yeah, yeah, to record with, I have this Epiphone Les Paul Standard that I got from somebody that I just really it's the one that I grab.
Yeah.
It doesn't give me the same tone when I have my Marshall turned up, but in the studio it's everything, and vice versa. My live guitar actually sucks in the studio. Yeah.
Yeah.
I've tried to record with it, and I'm just like, no. But
Hey, well, I was curious about. I love your axes, man. I love when we do the Harbor City All Stars, and um, your guitars rock, man. And it's a part of
thank you.
your the package. You know, you with the guitar, man, and the stance and everything. It makes me want to come to a question real quick. Um, is there a singer guitar player that you look up to? Because you mentioned your three favorite guitar players, but none of those three actually sing. So,
Right, right. That's
is there a
funny.
singer
I,
guitar
I've
player that?
I've I, that's funny because I've mainly idolized singers. Like at practice, we were talking. You and Ralph were talking about the Dio documentary, right?
Yeah.
And growing up, I was a huge Dio fan, and for a short time, I played in a band in Keensville called Risen, and I love that they played "Don't Talk to Strangers." I was just like, yes, I
Oh,
want to
y'all
join just
did
because
that?
of that. Yeah, yeah.
I don't think I've
I
ever
was,
heard of another band that ever does that one. That's an awesome song. One of my
well,
favorites.
I didn't say we did it well. I said we did it, but but
Hell
no,
yeah.
there was Jason McMaster, Ronnie James Dio, Joe Elliott. I loved all lead singers. But to answer your question, it has to be Mike Ness of Social Distortion, and
Killer.
um, and probably Bruce Springsteen.
Yeah,
I just,
man.
you know,
I
he
see.
he he evokes so much emotion with
Yeah.
his vocals
Hmm.
and his guitar playing that I don't know. It's more like you're watching the words coming out. And same thing with Mike Ness. I just love watching him live.
Yeah, man. I see a lot of you. Excuse me. Let me take that back the other way. I see a lot of them in your performance. Yeah. All the greatness. You know what I mean? And I don't blame you. Mike Ness, he's the man, man. Mommy's Little Monster. I remember growing up, coming across Another State of Mind, and I
Hmm.
don't know if it was on USA Network or something like that, or maybe it was Chris Garcia, also a guitar tech from Guitar Center, but also from Sweet Daddy.
Uh-huh.
Being at his place and coming across that and listening to that and just being blown away, man. Just blown away. It was life changing,
Yeah,
man. That was awesome.
yeah, it was.
Let me go to the next part of our interview today, and I like to always go to the segment that I call draw the line, and I'm going to find out by giving you a couple of subjects and find out they're going to be artists, they're going to be bands, and I want to find out what your favorites are. All right.
Okay, okay.
So let's take it from the first. You were just talking about Mike Ness and his band Social Distortion is one of those bands that has stood the test of time, that's been a grinder, that is probably very underrated, and it just has a huge underground scene. They're one of those bands like Tool that when they come to town, they're selling out. It happens because they
Hmm.
just have those diehard fans that aren't going to miss it, and their music just kind of transcends through the generations. And I think one of the bands that has really picked up from what Social Distortion does and kind of made it their own and kind of metalized that whole kind of style of music that they're so good at doing is Volbeat. So out of those
Hmm.
two bands, I have a pretty good idea where you're going to go with it, but at the same time, I still got to ask you, who's your favorite out of those two bands, Volbeat or Social Distortion?
Oh,
Because those two frontmen are beasts. And but I think Mike Ness was the one that kind of showed uh, set the groundwork for Volbeat's kind of being the man to do it the way they do today.
right, right. Well, I remember when I first heard Volbeat. Actually, it was a cover of "Bad Luck" from Social Distortion. Was the first Volbeat
Wow,
song that I heard. Yeah,
that kicks
and of
ass.
course he does
Yeah,
it. He does it in his style, right?
yeah,
And but I, I'm going to say Social Distortion, but and I'm not taking anything away from Volbeat. They have an energy that I really like listening to. It's not the same
yeah.
energy. It's but yeah, Social Distortion has just given me way too much for me to discount them.
Yeah, I dig it. I definitely dig it. But I like the fact that Volbeat has they've stood their ground, man, because that singer has got such a distinctive voice, and the band around him, the way they've kind of made this own genre of their own, and it wasn't easy for me to start to get into them. I think the first song was um, Warrior, or it had that maybe in the title, but it had that part. Let's get ready to rumble, and that
Mm.
song, it just had that metal feel that kind of it was easy to get into, but the vocals were
Yeah,
something that I needed to grow into. But now every
yeah,
freaking song that comes out, I'm like, yeah, it's a new one. Yeah, I love it. The band, it just um, incredible, dude. And
yeah,
I'm ashamed that I didn't appreciate it anytime sooner, because it's so much fun to listen to them. And me being a singer, I kind of like to try and pick up a little bit of everybody I like to listen to on the radio. But trying to copy him is a bitch. Is a bitch. But it just kind of
yeah.
just goes to show how great he is of a singer, and how he just
Right.
does his thing. Awesome, awesome. Well, let's move on to the next
Yeah.
one. These guys
Okay.
are awesome, and we have our United States homeboys, and you also got the UK's homeboys. Who do you favor out of our very own Ramones or the UK's The Clash?
The Ramones,
The Ramones, all
no
right,
doubt.
no doubt.
Yeah,
Hey,
you know, it's funny. It's funny. I recently, and I say recently, like maybe the last 10 years, really started listening to the Clash. Like when I was going to college and we were the Love Handles, I had heard cover bands do the Clash. Of course, Rock the Casbah was on MTV.
yeah,
I think I was too young to knew what they were trying to do to get it to like
okay,
them at the time. Uh, Now I listen to it, and it's kind of like what you said a little bit ago. It's just like, man, I wish I would have got into them a little bit more, and I could have been appreciating them as they grew instead of when they were gone. But no,
yeah,
The Ramones was the first band that I think I fell in love with. I mean when I say that, I mean I took the sleeve out of the record. I read every fucking word, the back. I mean, as you're listening to it, I don't know if you did
yeah.
this as a kid, but
I did.
that's what that
Yes,
you didn't watch TV. You didn't have a cell phone. You read the
we
record. You
watched
knew the producer.
the
You knew
special
the
thanks,
everybody.
all of that. That's right, and it
Everything,
mattered.
everything,
And
and he did it every time.
That's right. That was, and that's why I love vinyls. That's why I collect vinyls nowadays, because I love having being able to relive that all over again. Because yeah, it's super awesome that we can have everything, every phone excuse me, every song that we created on our phone, but to
Yeah,
have that tangible right there in your hand, where it's like, yeah, you pictures of the band, of their previous tour, special thanks of the bands that they worked with, the producers, and it's like, oh, it's still working with the same producer, same engineer, and you start seeing
yeah,
all these same guys working with the same bands, and you just feel like that band becomes yours, man.
yeah,
You know everything about
and
them.
right. And funny story is about the Ramones. Rocket to Russia was the one of the ones that I got at Rock and Roll High School from my stepdad. Is at the time too, I was a fan of Bon Jovi. Bon Jovi was probably is probably my number one favorite band. That's what I listened to. That's how I kind of grew my hair out and wanted to be when I was wanting to be something. But
Yeah.
reading that Tony Bon Jovi, who was John Bon Jovi's uncle, was the producer and owned the studio where the Ramones recorded Rocket to Russia, just
Wow.
kind of made me feel like I was doing things right. Hey, I'm
Right.
going in the right path. I'm in the same circle as
Exactly.
these. But
Yeah.
yeah,
Very, very cool. I know what you
those are the
mean.
things. those are the things you found out reading the back of a record sleeve, is how you could connect the dots, and you'd go tell your friends, hey, did you know, so and so played on this album? I mean, it was like breaking news. It wasn't on the internet.
Yeah.
It was.
Right, exactly. We found out who was doing, um, like the first thing I'm thinking of is like Beastie Boys' License Deal. Found out that Kerry King was doing the solo on that. Find out, like on Thriller, or should I say Bad, that Eddie Van Halen did the solo on the song Bad. You know what I mean? When
Yeah.
you hear it, yeah,
Well,
a lot of us
yeah,
can kind
he
of
was
hear that.
Eddie Van Halen was Beat It. I think
Oh, my bad. Okay.
Steve Stevens was Bad, I think.
Oh, all right. Steve Stevens.
Yeah,
No
yeah.
shit. Wow, man,
Yeah, or he was
badass.
Dirty Diana. He was Dirty Diana for sure. But yeah,
Oh, that's a jam
those
too.
were because the videos never showed you, who really played on there. It's just like I think Stevie Ray Vaughan did a solo on a David Bowie song, and that's how
Yes,
he
that's
became.
right.
Yeah, so yeah,
Yeah, I'm trying to think of maybe Modern Love, maybe Modern or Let's Dance. I
I
think it
think it
was Let's
was
Dance.
Les. Yeah, I think. Well,
Right.
I think Nile Rodgers did Let's Dance. I think it was
Oh, Now
China Girl.
Rogers. That's an oh
Yeah,
China Girl.
I don't
Okay,
know.
love Now
Yeah. It,
Rogers. Yeah.
oh
Wow,
yeah,
dude.
hell yeah.
Yeah, good point. Good point right there. Okay, let's hit another pair, guys. Couple of
Okay.
legends right here. Who do you prefer out of the Misfits and the Dead Kennedys?
Okay. Here's another story.
All
uh,
right.
so the Dead Kennedys, I got into them through a friend of mine, and a quick story. We found a wallet at the bowling alley in Kingsville, and so we took the wallet to the lost and found, but kept the cash. I think we were
Yeah.
pretty young. We were probably about 11 or 12, and I went and bought the Violent Femmes album with Blister of the Sun and Blister from the
Okay.
Sun, and he
Yeah.
bought the Dead Kennedys album. I can't think of the name of it right now, but it was in God We Trust.
Okay. Yeah.
Was it? Okay? So
That's one
that
of
was the
theirs.
first time, and probably right, right. And so that was when I first heard the Dead Kennedys, and I liked it. Yeah. Now with the Misfits, I never got into the Misfits, and a
All
lot of my
right.
friends, a lot of the, and I'm not saying I didn't get into them, like I heard them and didn't like them, but it's funny how when you're young you do stupid shit, and this is one of them. A lot of the people that I didn't like growing up loved the Misfits, so I hated them. And one day,
Yeah.
I know it's stupid, but one day I get called that they're doing a tour for the Memphis Three. I don't know if you've seen that documentary,
Oh yeah, I
but
have. I know about it. Yes.
okay. So they asked me if the Really Rottens want to open up for Michael Graves at Zeros. And I'm
Killer.
like, well, from a business standpoint, I want to be on that bill because my name will be everywhere. And I knew the Misfits were big. And
Yeah.
I did like Dig Up Her Bones. But so I get there, I do the show, and Michael Graves goes on, and they're playing everything from the Misfits. And
All
I
right.
kicked myself in the ass every day since then, going like, this is what I was not listening to. I fell in love with every song. I was like,
Yeah.
this epitomizes everything that I'm doing, and I spent all
Right.
those
Yeah.
years just judging them because of the people who wore their shirts or listened to them. So my bad, my bad. So to answer your question, the Misfits.
The Misfits. All right, cool.
Yeah.
Hey, I know what I know exactly what you're talking about, man. Because sometimes, if there's somebody that I'm not a big fan of, but they're diehard fans of some band that I'm really just hadn't really never caught on to, then I'm just like, nah, I could care less because I'm not a big fan of that person. So I feel the exact same way, and I was like, you know what, I'll forget
Mhm.
about it. But the music is where, like I said, at this age right now, I'm just grateful that
Yeah.
now I can really
Yeah.
appreciate all that stuff. And now, there's nothing that I
Yeah.
that I that I don't want to listen to. I want to get everything in because I want to feel everything that good music brings to you. And it doesn't have to be
Right.
metal, it doesn't have to be American. It just has to make you feel good. And there's so much out
Yeah,
there,
exactly.
you know.
Yeah, I'm a big fan of Swedish rock and like Hanoi
Yeah,
Rocks, Michael Monroe. Um, so what is Diet, Crash Diet? I mean, those guys are super
yeah.
talented. There's a lot of punk rock bands too from Sweden, Finland, Millencolin. I mean, these guys have really sometimes, like with Michael Monroe from Hanoi Rocks, I love all his. I cannot believe that he writes these songs, and English is like his third language, but he says the most rock and roll things in his songs. It's amazing. I'm like, man, I'm American, and I can't even put English words together like.
The way he lays it down like that, damn, that's badass. That's badass.
Yeah, yeah,
Oh shit. Well,
yeah. Huge
let's
fan.
move on to my next one, man. This next one, I'd seen that you had a post where you made it to the Struts playing over at the House of Rock. So I want to mention the Struts right here, and I want to put them against another band that I really dig a lot too. And tell me who you prefer. Do you prefer the Struts
Okay,
or the Black Keys?
110% the Struts. I would
All right. Okay.
I would have to say that I listen to the Struts even now when I work out. I
Yeah.
mean, they really captured the later albums. They got overly produced. I have to say, I'll listen to them, but that first album, it reminded me of discovering rock and roll again.
That kicks ass.
They
Wow.
Man, that whole album. So yeah, I went to go see them, and I acted like a little fanboy in the front row. I sang every song.
Cool.
I was amongst like all these little girls and stuff. My daughter was there, and I was like,
Yeah.
I don't care. I don't care. I
That's
don't
my
know when I'll
band.
ever get to see these guys. Yeah, that's right.
Yeah.
That's right.
That's too cool, man. And I feel like when I go to concerts right now, and because I'm the older guy. I'm the old guy at the show. And I feel that same way. It's like, hey, this band was mine before you were even born. So, but but at the same time, it's like, hey, I'm just glad that everybody's here enjoying, and that's what makes concerts so enjoyable. And
Right.
what we
Right.
do as us being artists, and when it comes down to us going to concerts where we're able to enjoy, our idols and our mentors up there that we look up to, just makes that whole package, man. And all I've ever wanted to be is a rock star. You know what I mean? And I hear
Yeah.
that in your lyrics too, man. And we've
Thank you.
been grinding in this for a long time, and we know that, like, for all these guys that we look up to, the Tom Petty's, that are badass, rock and roll, Bruce Springsteen's, that, hey, this shit didn't happen overnight. Sometimes these guys made it big in their 30s. It didn't happen when they were in their teens and shit like that.
Yeah.
Sure, that
Yeah.
happens to some of the prodigy sons, but a lot of them, are like us. They've been grinding. They had day jobs. They've been doing what they got to support their families. And then for some reason or another, the rock gods give them a break and put them in the right scenario, or maybe the right person's there to see him. And then one thing leads to another.
Hmm.
Just like Eddie
Yeah.
Money used to be a cop, and the next thing you know,
Yeah.
he's Eddie Money. And it blows me away, something like that. And I love shows like uh, The Voice, American Idol. They kind of brought all the young talent and gave them some exposure, and gave them an opportunity to be rock stars. And
Yeah. Yeah.
I tried out for The Voice too, but it was that must have been about 8 years ago. But it was a hell of an
Oh, really?
experience. It was a hell of an experience, and I thought, I picked out 3 songs, and I played them for my wife and my daughter and my son that night. And it was Radar Love from Golden Earring. It was Turn the Page from Bob Seger, and it was from the Foo Fighters. I want to say it was, let's just say Monkey Wrench. But the the family,
Man.
after I sang all three of them for the family, the day before I had to do the rehearsal, they said, you know what? You should do the Golden Earring, the Radar Love. And I felt like I did the Foo Fighters I did a better version because me, I'm just a better rock vocalist. And I just felt like that would have been my strong point. But I listened to them and I did Radar Love. I did good, but in those auditions, you're in groups of eight, and within that
Mm,
audition, there was a pair of girls that sang like angels, and they were the two that moved on to the next round. And
mm.
shoot, me and the other six contestants that were in there, we all felt like we did good, but we all knew that those two were the best in the bunch. So
Yeah.
the best
Yeah.
always rise to the top, but you got to throw your name in the hat and take those kind of chances. So I really liked that I gave the voice a chance, and it was fun. And I would like to do it again. I still get the emails all the time, voice casting. Come up here to Houston and do
Oh,
it, and
crazy.
and I still get interested in doing like, oh, do you want to do it again this year? But man, I've kind of it's like I did there, been there, done that. It was fun. They're just better singers out there that are out there for these kind of competitions, and I'm gonna kind of just stay in my lane and keep doing what I'm doing and making the best out of that as I can. So let's get back. I got one
Yeah.
more
Well,
one more question for you.
hats off to you for trying, by the way.
Hey, right? You know what I mean? I can say I got a story, and we can
That's
go
right.
more into that another time, but that's for another interview. Now let's finish strong here. Now the last one
Okay.
I want to ask you about is about two badass guitar players that sing and play. And I know we talked about one of them already, but I got to bring him up again. Who do you favor more out of Brian Setzer or Mike Ness? Now those are two, Brian Setzer's man. He's the man. He's got his own orchestra, and wow, dude, yeah, the dance. He's got the moves on stage. Holy shit!
Yeah.
And I know how
Well,
you feel about Mike, but what do you think about
yeah.
now that I matched him up against a Stray Cat legend right there?
Well, as far as before there was a Mike Ness in my life, before there was really even um, man, like Sammy Hagar, I used to listen to a lot.
Yeah,
Def Leppard,
Sammy,
like Pyromania. One of the
love it.
first cassettes that I ever bought was Built for Speed from the Stray Cats. And
Yeah,
I remember I was in my bedroom in an apartment in Kingsville, Texas, and I would listen to Built for Speed nonstop. It was just, it's different. It's kind of still is different than anything else that's being played, right?
yeah,
Um, I would have to say I do love Social Distortion, and I think he's helped me create my persona now. But I would have to say, in that sense, Brian Setzer and the Stray Cats probably win this one because they were there at the very beginning, right when I was
yeah.
watching my uncle and listening to my stepdad teach me guitar. The Stray Cats were probably the first stone of it all
I dig it, and they got so much.
before I had friends that shared their music with me. I had an older friend in an apartment complex, and he would bring his Dirty Deeds and For Those About to Rock and Frampton Comes Alive. I mean, and all I had was like my uh, Built for Speed and Stray Cats and Kajak Goo Goo cassette. Like I was like, oh,
Okay.
I gotta move up.
Yeah, when I think about the Stray Cats, it reminds me of the birth of MTV, and and how they were the only cats doing it like that, and they had the
Yeah,
style, the dress. Yeah,
yeah.
no one did it better than the Stray Cats, and they were
No, and
very
then
iconic.
speaking, yeah, and speaking from a guitar playing aspect too, as far as Brian Setzer, even back then, it has nothing to do with like he got better. Even then, if you were to break it down and look at the chords that he's playing and the
Yeah,
solos that he's playing over those chords, it's not like the pentatonic scale. It's not a major scale. It's not. It's beyond Van Halen, beyond Zach Wild. These are chord shapes and progressions that, you know, there's some kind of a video where the guy's playing leads and his fingers are all wrapped up. That's, if you were to watch what he's doing, that's how my fingers would be if I tried to play it. It's just amazing, amazing guitar player. And there's only one other guitar player that I know that plays like him in a rock band sense, is the guitar player from a band called The Living End. He's
The
plays
Living
in
End.
that style, and
Yeah.
he's amazing too. Yeah, they're great. So
Wow.
yes,
I need to
the
look him
Stray
up.
Cats have to win that one.
Hey, all right. You know, I got to mention one more thing. I'd seen Brian Setzer's orchestra, and they did a DVD. It might have been a Christmas special, but they filmed it in
Yeah.
Japan. And I don't know if you've
Hmm.
seen it like on Access TV, but man, that's a hell of a show. And Japan crowds know how to rock, dude. They go
Oh
crazy
yeah.
for American rock. I don't know if they're fluent in the voice, but I kind of just I putting myself in their shoes. It's like me listening to Rammstein. I love it. I don't know
Mm.
what he's saying, but I'm gonna try and mimic every word he says, and maybe I just might learn a little German along the way.
Yeah.
But you
I
know,
have a I I'm sorry. I have a Dangerous Toys video that they did in Japan, and
oh shit,
yeah, it's I don't know if they released it or if Jason just gave it to me, but they went to Japan, and it's pretty crazy. Like,
I could
they're moving,
imagine.
they're rocking, they're moving, you know, and
Yeah.
then in between songs, like he's doing his spiel, you know, like how the hell are y'all? And it's silence, you know.
Good
I
point.
don't,
Good point, man. Yeah, like what did he
but
say?
they do,
Right.
yeah, they do know how to rock. They do know how to rock for
Dude,
sure.
big time. Yeah, so Brian Setzer over Mike Ness. I didn't see that coming. I didn't see it coming, but I
Yeah,
definitely know why, because you know a lot of the times whenever I ask these questions on Draw the Line, a lot of the answers always refer back to what you grew up listening to and how it came along, or maybe
right.
who the first one was that you came in contact with. Say, for instance, I asked, who did I have? I had Dave in here last week, and we were talking about Black Sabbath, whether it's Ozzy or whether it's Dio, which one you prefer as the singer for Black Sabbath. And for him, it was like, you know what? When I got into Sabbath, Dio was a singer. So I didn't know anything about Ozzy being the singer until later on. At that time, he was just enjoying Diary of a Madman, Blizzard of Oz. And then after
Right.
digging down the rabbit hole of Ronnie James Dio and being with Sabbath, like, oh, this guy's sang with Sabbath too. And I feel like I love bringing up these questions because our childhood has really affected so much about all of our favorite things about our musicians as we've grown up, and because they've touched us in that certain way, they're still
Yeah.
such a big
Yeah.
part of us. And we don't forget that.
Oh
It's
yeah.
like Gene Simmons
That,
with me. It's like, yeah, I'm a fanboy when it comes to Gene. And he's like at the top of my bucket list for doing a podcast. If I got to get Gene
yeah.
Simmons on, talk to him, I think I can die very contentful, but
Yeah.
it's just,
Yeah.
it's Gene Simmons. It's Phil Anselmo. It's when it comes to drummers, Frankie Banali for Quiet Riot,
Oh
you know,
yeah.
guys that have just really just made me, want to be a better drummer, a better singer, a better rocker. Um, it's just
Yeah, for sure.
our childhood, man, our childhood, and it's a precious thing that we've really held on to. And when it comes to music, um, it's eternal. It really is eternal. And
Yeah.
the older we
I'm
get, the
I
richer we
feel
become.
right. I feel very grateful that I was born in the 70s and got to
Yeah,
experience that music. The 80s was great, you know.
yeah,
The 90s, the 2000s, like I think as far as technology and music, we have been alive in the greatest. I mean, it'll never be that great again.
yeah.
It will
Right.
never be that great again. There'll never be another Van Halen. I mean,
Yeah,
and
that's
we
right.
got to witness it from the birth till the end, you know.
Yes,
That's
right.
great in itself.
Yeah, that's magical, man. It's when it comes to music, it saved my life, and just like your hit, man. Yeah, it saved your soul. It saved your soul, and it's
Yep.
made you it's made your soul complete and happy and happy, and
Yeah.
that's the beauty of music, man. I want us to keep sharing that. And I
Oh
know
yeah.
with us doing the Harbor City All Stars, we come up with some great ideas. Last time we got together, a couple of those was doing like a Christmas in July, doing a gig
Hmm.
in Kingsville, spreading the love over
Yeah.
there in Kingsville, your hometown,
Yeah.
and
Keensville
and
or
find
Alice. Yeah.
yeah, and finding it was it Alice.
Yeah.
Correct me if I'm wrong.
Alice.
Was it? It was Alice then. Okay,
Alice.
there we go. All right,
Yeah.
that's especially the city we're talking about, and finding another charity that we can help out. But another thing was also because us already kind of being in our third year, we kind of got that we got a freshman year, a sophomore year, we got a junior, and now we're coming up to our senior year. We're talking about recording now, so exciting things going on, in our collaboration with the Harbor City All Stars. And while I'm on the point, just want to thank everybody in the community for coming out to our event, December
Yes.
23rd over at the House of Rock, and all of our sponsors, Casey and everybody at the House of Rock, Daniel Dama Productions. And by the way, he's still working on the video. He says it's coming out great. Daniel is also the photographer for El Nino, so they're a very active band,
Mm.
getting going all over the place. So, and he's also holding down a full time day job too. So, as soon as I get that video, oh, I'm going to share it with all you guys. I'm so excited
Oh,
about
that'd be great.
being able to have that kind of a souvenir of our performance. So the first 2 years, it's there's so many details to putting the show together and to get it done right that man, it's so much it's very overwhelming for me. So
Yeah.
I'm
Yeah.
glad, with this being our fourth year, we're going to be growing. But with our sponsors' support, we made this year just freaking amazing, and we're just a hair short of hitting that goal that we had, $1,000. But we were so blessed to be able to do it at Rich's the past couple of years, and shout out to Rich Nunez and everybody at Theo's, and thanks for giving us a home for our first two events. And the first couple we raised over 300 each time, and I think we raised over 300 pounds in food. This time we tripled that in cash donations, and for every $1 you give to the food bank, they get 4 meals out of that. So we threw them $900. So that just created 3,600 meals. So that really goes a long way. And then we had a lot of
Yeah.
food to donate with that too. So best production of the year
Hey,
for us.
don't forget that it was 26 degrees when we played.
Exactly. When we did it, it was 26 degrees outside, and we had a hell of a turnout. Everybody showed up to do the
Hey,
show, and what a success
big
with
ups
that kind of
to
conditions going
Corpus
on.
Christi for showing up. Yeah. Yeah. Everybody who
Big
showed up, they
time,
were
man.
troopers, man.
Yes, troopers. So thanks a lot to everybody that's always been supporting the Harbor City All Stars. I still got to give a shout out to Sal Hernandez and and uh, and Jacob Grimm from South Texas Media for being there for us as well, and Harbor City Inc. Rob Chop over there for helping us out with the t-shirts. But
Mm.
I want people to know how they can get in touch with you, Jimmy. And so, where are you at on social media? How can they find you?
I'm on Facebook and Instagram right now. Just Jimmy Rotten Smithwick on Facebook and Jimmy Smithwick the second on Instagram.
And say I'm a guitar player that needs to have something done on my guitar. It's broken, or I needed to get a what do they call it? Kind of like a tune-up. How do I get in
Yeah,
touch with you
yeah. So,
with Smithwick's
well, you
guitar
can,
repairs?
yeah, you can go to Smithwick's Guitar Repair. It's a page off of my Facebook.
All right.
I created all that stuff to be separate, but it all just kind of comes in at the same time, so it doesn't matter. My phone number's on there, my email's on there. I always have my phone with me, So
Killer.
yeah,
Good, good. Well, guys, keep Jimmy busy. And when it comes to guitars, nobody knows guitars better than Jimmy here in town. He's going to take good care of your equipment, and you can catch up and shoot shop with him as well when you're out there with him. Um, so I see you running down some doing some bass tracks. Pretty good chance of us getting some music maybe within the next mid-year. 2023, maybe
Oh yeah, oh
from
yeah.
you?
Yeah, I'm actually I've tightened up two or three songs. My drummer's actually coming down to lay some stuff. But as far as something new, I want to release something like within the next 2 weeks. It's just one of those things. It's a little bit
Yeah,
different than the stuff I've done before. And the one thing is, I don't want to put something out without having everything in place. I'm old school. I'm the kind of guy who wants to have the t-shirts ready, and I want to have the stickers ready, and I know it's a
great.
different time, but I just don't want to just put out music and then wait for clicks, wait for likes. I want to have a picture of the band, and I want to put it all out, the whole
Yeah,
package kind of deal, old school
go.
style.
Hey, that's the way to do it right. You know what I mean? You gotta put the legwork in. You gotta get the pictures, get all the background, get it
Yeah,
done right. You've been at this thing right, and that's
yeah,
that's how you know that's going to be the most successful for you and get the best return and keep you happy with what you're doing. Good,
yeah.
excellent.
Yeah, I want to say one thing, if I can, is going back
Please,
to the musicians. Um, I really, anybody watching this one and hears this, I want everybody to really remember that this is their scene too. I mean, in our scene days, we had people like Richard Guerrero, who was documenting the scene. People
yes,
like you and me who keep
right,
flyers, and Alex Dominguez, all those archiving everything. And I
yeah,
feel like it's like we did so much with so little. And nowadays, we have a camera and a video camera on our phone and
and
can
everyone's
record a
got one.
song on our phone.
Yeah,
Yeah, just like be remembered to just remember to archive everything, to make it to make this scene a whole again. It'd be nice for there to be more venues and more
yeah,
people coming together. There's a lot of cool new bands that have come up in the last year, like Left-Handed Knives and the New Ends. They're
yeah,
not real new, but they are making static, and they've
yes,
invited us on some stuff, and we've invited them, and that's the way it works. I mean, you're
right.
in a band, I'm in a band, and here we are on the podcast. I mean, we got to look out for each other. We got to help each other grow.
Absolutely. There's always going to be this, a sense of friendly competition, but in the long run, we're in the same game together. We're bands that need venues to play to. We're bands that need crowds to perform to. Just like Casey put it, he's a venue that needs bands to play, and we're bands that need venues to go play at. So we help
That's
each
right.
other out. There's always moves to be made, and but we've got to go out there and put the work in. And
Yeah.
when it comes to like bands getting the opening spot for their favorite band that's coming into the House of Rock, and if uh, I encourage that band or any bands that want to be opening up for these badass bands that come to town and are playing at either House of Rock or Black Monk Tavern or Boozers or any other place in town. If you want to get that gig, you better reach out to that promoter. You better contact that band. You got to ask for somebody and let them know that you give a shit and you want to be that opening band. Don't expect somebody to call
Yeah.
you. They're not going to knock down
Yeah.
your
Uh,
door. Go
yeah.
down
I
there and
mean,
make
if
it
you think of
happen. Make some noise.
yeah, if you think about it, in my career here in Corpus Christi, I've opened up for some really kick-ass bands, and none of them were punk bands. I mean, 99% of them were not punk bands. I mean, we're talking about like Everclear, Better Than Ezra,
Yeah.
Lita Ford, just
Kick
like
ass.
but it was because
Yeah.
I tried to be professional, and it didn't matter what kind of music I played. It was that I brought an A game show and my
Yeah.
staff acted professional. That's what it takes.
That's what it takes. Exactly. Words of
Yeah.
wisdom. Thank you so much, Jimmy. That's going to wrap up our show for today, man. It was fantastic getting you on the podcast. I'm glad we finally did it. There's more
Yeah.
to be discussed between me and you as far as what we're going to be doing later with the Harbor City All Stars. But also, I'll
Mhm.
be seeing you soon next month at the Music Symposium. All right. So
That's
everybody
right.
out there, please go to the Music Symposium link. Look it up at thehouseofrock.com, texashouseofrock.com, that is,
Hmm.
and get yourself registered to get a free
Hmm.
ticket to get in there. And come say hi to me and Jimmy when you're at the show. All right. And Jimmy, want to say bye to everybody?
Awesome. Yeah. See you guys later. Support your local scene.
All right, man. Thanks a lot, Jimmy. Love you, brother. And guys, I'll see you in the next show.
Love you
Take
too,
care.
man.
Thanks for listening to the show today.